Are you interested in becoming a permanent part of the channel or having a direct impact on the type of content that I create? Well, now you can check out the Alliteration Gaming Patreon. Throughout it, you're going to find a handful of different tiers that can include special perks like shoutouts on the supporter card at the beginning of all my videos, access to the private channel in my Discord, and the ability to watch all of my content on Patreon a couple weeks early and totally ad-free. On top of that, the different video tiers will let you commission videos directly from me. We can build a deck together, you can send me some gameplay to commentate, or even select a character for me to spotlight. You can also now join the Alliteration Nation by becoming a channel member on YouTube. Pledging your subscription here is going to grant you a same spot on that supporter card and access to that same Discord channel, as well as hook you up with a member's badge that levels up and access to emotes when I stream on YouTube. I'm going to have the Patreon link down below to check out, and the Discord should you want to join that. And if you want to become a channel member, the join button is what you want to hit. If you end up supporting my work in any way, thank you so much. I'm incredibly grateful, and I can't wait to provide you with more top-notch content at my trademark top speed. Now, let's get on to the video. Good evening, my dear viewers, and welcome to another Alliteration Gaming video. My name's Levi, and today I have something super duper special that I want to talk to you guys about, and it's going to be about a new type of format that you can play in the My Hero Academia card game. Now, it's no secret that the game has been in a pretty weird place for a hot minute now, and in general, there's just a lot of things that people haven't been super fond of going on for a good while. Just whether it be in the design of the cards, in the gameplay that they facilitate, there's a lot of things happening that a lot of people aren't super happy with, myself included. If you want to hear my greater thoughts on the format as a whole, you can go check out my Can't This Format Be Fixed video that I made a little while back, and it goes very, very in-depth about what I particularly don't like about the game. But the general premise of it is that I don't feel like I'm playing as much of the game every time I sit down to play the game, and a lot of that feels like it's part of the card design, and most of us really attribute that to a lot of the card design, particularly the cards in set 1. So that has led to kind of a meme going around lately of like ban set 1 or rotate set 1, or nuke the format, ban 20-30 cards, or ban 76 cards ace maneuver style. There's a ton of this type of discourse going around, and as entertaining as those memes are, and there is a little bit of understanding and realism to them as well, they actually got me thinking about what if they were more than just memes. What would the game actually play like with 20 cards banned, 30 cards banned, 10 characters eroded, etc, etc, etc. In general, without most of the really scary things in set 1, what would the game look like? It really got me thinking about that, and so it prompted me to kind of go into this thought experiment of what if I tried building a bunch of decks without set 1 cards. And so it really prompted me into this thought experiment. Now, I do think that like banning 20 to 30 cards or trying to errata several characters and doing all kinds of stuff like that is super duper messy. So for my thought experiment, I figured it would just make the most sense to go purely no set 1. And so that's what I did. I started trying to build decks without set 1 cards, set 1 characters, nothing with the set 1 symbol in it. And it actually became very interesting. A lot of packages changed in a lot of ways. Some of them almost ceased to exist in the first place. And in general, a lot of characters felt much better when there weren't such stronger versions, right? Because like strength is all relative and it's all comparative. And the biggest question I think that I really wanted to answer is, okay, these decks seem cool, these characters seem much better, but is the game still fun? I'm personally of the belief that Universus, or the My Hero card game, whatever it is, no matter what, it will be fun. The fun of this game is not tied into the power level of the cards at all. The mechanics and the gameplay and the interaction of Universus will always be a good time. Even if the best cards in your deck barely feel like they do anything, just simply put the attacking, the blocking, the enhancing, the responding, everything that goes inside a game of Universus is just always going to be a good time to me, and that good time is not tied to the power level of cards. Or at least that's the working theory, right, of this thought experiment. Now, do I think a format with no set 1 would save the game? Is it all, kumbaya? Is it complete paradise, nirvana, etc, etc? Maybe, maybe not, probably not, but I do think that it's a pretty good starting point to try and kind of steer the format somewhere else. And at the very least, it is most definitely, at least to me anyway, interesting, intriguing, and something that I think would just be a ton of fun to try out. And so that's what we're really here to do, guys, and that's why I'm sitting here today bringing you my no set 1 format New World Order. And so how do we play New World Order? Well, if you hop over to my Discord, by the time this video is up, you should see this new bracket of channels here, New World Order no set 1 format. And the first thing you'll see is the rules. So first of all, we're going to set the deck size to a 60 card minimum. I think this is probably something that should happen in the actual My Hero card game anyway. I think there's a lot of degeneracy that comes with letting people play like 50 card decks, and in general it's probably something I would like to see go. However, maybe it's simply an issue that design on its own could fix, who knows, but I think that it's the correct call for something like this. Now when it comes to set legality, what can we play? Anything and everything as long as it is not from set 1. No booster set, no rival deck, no plus ultra promos, no DLC, no tongue whip. If it has the set 1 logo, guys, it cannot go into your deck. That is the only set restriction rule of New World Order. As far as card legality goes, now this was kind of interesting for me because right here I have elected to start us off with Back Alley Haymaker and One with Nature both gone. Now when it comes to coming right off the bat with banning cards in something like this, my criteria was a little different. For one, I don't think that Back Alley Haymaker and One with Nature necessarily like create the awful play experiences and the war crimes of the turn 2 murder fests in a world without set 1 cards. I don't think that the rest of the things being there to facilitate that are necessarily there, but they very well could be. Back Alley might not be nearly as offensive without set 1 cards to back up what it's doing in those early stages of the game, but it's still just like the most boring deck building card ever. It's like a hardcore staple, literally no matter what your character is, no matter who you are, what you're doing, what keywords you want, what combos you're trying to do, you're probably just trying to jam this card no matter what, even if it messes up what your deck is trying to do, because it's just that good. I was building decks and I was realizing that I was putting in bad zeros into my deck just so I could 4x Back Alley Haymaker and build more zeros. I was like, this is probably just too good. Granted, it's not building things like Tight-Lipped and Release and whatnot anymore, but there's still like a bunch of really solid targets for it, and it just made deck building super duper boring. So I wanted to get out of here. Then One with Nature is the other side of what I don't want to see in a card, and this card is just like pound for pound, really insane. Even without set 1, the stat buffs that it just gives are way better than like anything else that anyone anywhere is doing. Whether you're an aggressive deck, a mid-range deck, a defensive deck, I was still finding myself putting in like 2 to 3 One with Natures into every single one of those decks. And now I've said that for both of these cards, right? I don't have an issue with staples. I do not have an issue with staples. I think a staple attack that you play no matter what you're trying to do with your attacks is really boring and probably not okay. A staple foundation is super duper fine, especially once we're chopping a whole set of cards outside of the pool. There's going to be a lot of staples resurfacing, but One with Nature is probably just too strong, regardless of whether or not you think it's okay that it belongs inside of every deck. And so those were the only two that I felt okay with starting off with. There are definitely some other things that I have my eye on though, but we'll talk about that in a moment. After that, guys, we've got a couple other channels. General is just going to be for generally discussing New World Order as a format. I've got a deck lists and help channel for sending in your deck list that you feel like have been doing well, or for asking for help on your deck. Deck building without set 1 is a lot harder. There's very few staples now once you get rid of set 1, and you really have to reevaluate how you look at the value of cards. So any advice that you want to give or receive, this is the place for it. After that, we want to play this new format, so I've got a nice little looking for game channel. You can head here if you want to try and look for people that want to play games on webcam or on TTS, and in general just try and test this format more and more, because that is like #1 priority right here, is just seeing if this is actually even worth thinking about whatsoever and if it's actually still fun. And then the last channel in here is a watch list channel, so this is just going to be for talking about cards that feel like they're way too strong now, they're way too staple, they're way too powerful. A couple that I really have my eye on. I really have my eye on Dual Needle Lunge. That card is probably too good for New World Order. Twisting Azure, or just Dobby 2 in general, is another big one that I'm super worried about. Recovery Girl might be too good in a world where our attacks don't do big damage anymore. 30 health with heal 2 every turn is just too much. Basically, if you have any kind of thought process like that and you get a little experience with it and practice with it, put it in here, man, because that's also some things that I'd love to talk about. And then I just have a couple of voice channels for actually playing games within. And so that is just the gist of it. Long story short, I wanted to try and play the game without set 1 cards and see how it feels. Building decks without set 1 was pretty fun, enough that it made me actually want to play them. So this is just a fun thought experiment, and that's kind of the main point here, is this is just supposed to be fun. If you're tired of Jiro sending 50 speed, 50 damage home run comets at you, if you're tired of Tokoyami playing 6 attacks on 3 foundations at you, if you're tired of Asui playing her 9th attack with 1 card in our card pool, if those are all things that you're just a little exhausted at dealing with, man, come try this out with me, come provide me some feedback, and come, hopefully, fingers crossed, have a really good time trying this out. I'm really looking for as much feedback and as much collective data that I can get on this as possible. While I don't know if it's anything that they'd realistically ever actually do in the game, perhaps if enough people are really raving about how enjoyable it is, and if we can garner enough data to what has to happen alongside of it, it could be a worthwhile venture in the long run, past just having a good time with the game. So if you're already in my Discord, you can hop over to these channels now and let's get this discussion going. And of course, if you're not in the Discord, I do have it linked down below in the description and in the pinned comments as always. And of course, as always, I have my Patreon link down below if you want to support the channel. But above all else, thanks for just making it to the end of this video. I hope I see you in some New World Order games sometime soon, and I hope I see you in the next video. Take care.